everybody. Today we're debating intelligent design versus evolution. We're starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for this epic debate. This is a tag team debate, and we are really excited as these people have been here before. They've debated before. They're articulate. They're energetic. So this is going to be a fun one, folks. Want to let you know a few things up front. First, if this is your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button as we have a lot more debates coming up. So, for example, you'll see at the bottom of your screen this coming Monday, The Snake Was Right and Steve McRae will be facing off on a number of personal issues that they will resolve for once and for all. So that should be a lot of fun. But want to let you know, we're a neutral platform. And despite the thumbnail you are seeing from Monday's upcoming debate on the bottom right of your screen, which is a joke, we are a neutral platform, so we don't take a stance. That's just a joke between me and Steve. And with that, want to let you know if you're a Christian, atheist, Republican, Democrat, you name it, we hope you do feel welcome here. And we only have one rule, which is that there be no hate speech. That's the only thing we'll actively delete and ban. And we just ask, though, since it is, you could say you have a lot of liberty here, we just ask that you kind of meet us halfway. Be your regular friendly selves as we enjoy so much in the live chat. And we'll get started with that. So want to let you know we're going to have our dearest friends representing intelligent design go first, namely John MADDOX and Nephilim Free, and then we're going to have Amy and TJump representing evolution tonight. So it's going to be 10 minutes, and it's going to be for each side 10 minutes split however they would like. So we will go into open conversation after that, followed by Q&A. So if you have a question, fire it into the old live chat, tagging me with @ModernDayDebate to make it easier for me to not miss any questions. Also, Super Chat is an option, in which case you can also make a comment toward one of the speakers for the question and answer. And a Super Chat will also push your question or comment to the top of the list for the Q&A. So with that, very excited to have all of you here, folks. Always fun. We were going to kick it over to MADDOX, I think, is going first. Appreciate you guys all being here, and want to let you know, everybody, I have put all of their links in the description, so if you want to hear more, you can hear more from each and every person here. John MADDOX, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, James. Fun to be back again. Looking forward to this debate. Anybody wants to check out my videos, you can just search for Logical, Plausible, Probable. That's my channel name, and you can find out more over there. Now, tonight, for those of you watching this debate, you're going to be presented with two very distinct dichotomies. On one side, there's the position that intelligence is not required for the existence of what we now know are the requirements for life. Prescriptive information of stunning complexity and artistic beauty, which is made possible by nanotechnologies that far exceed our imagination and even comprehension. On the other side is the foundational argument that this is not possible without an intelligent agent providing both the information required and its instantiation into a physical medium. Moreover, it is my position that when the requirements for life are examined through an unbiased lens, the supposition that it is plausible for our existence to occur without direction requires a suspension of rational thought. Those like at least TJump, I'm not sure about Amy, but very often they try to obscure the truth in the arguments, and when questioned, create elaborate stories to discredit their opponents, and as the supposed proof of evolution and chance occurrences continues to evaporate, they either refuse to accept being incorrect or invent new explanations of how already failed theories are 100% fact. Moreover, it is my assertion that all variants of Darwinism, which is reliant on dogmatic naturalism and reductive materialism, by the assumption that abiogenesis is not relevant to its very core, is therefore the fruit of a poison tree and must be treated as such. And I find it so interesting how those in favor of this position attempt to circumvent this inescapable enigma that somehow the mind-bending lack of plausibility and probability required for abiogenesis to occur without an intelligent agent being possible is somehow a reasonable conclusion. The very often put forth position of, supposedly a proof of chance abiogenesis is life exists. Therefore, no matter how improbable, it must have occurred by chance. I would contend that this is quite possibly the most illogical conclusion that's ever been put forth, especially about a position that is so fundamental to our very existence. There are innumerable things that are possible, but no sane person would ever posit they could exist without an intelligent agent as the required catalyst for their inception. So, how ironic is it for those who deny the need for a creator to demand we conclude that these things are possible by chance? Would you conclude that the software, for example, that enables this debate could ever be formed without programmers? Would you argue there is no meaning in the source code which makes this possible? Would you ever claim that abstract meanings that were applied to the code that makes this all possible did not require intelligent agents to define what they mean from a syntax, semantics, and pragmatics perspective, and to ultimately create the hardware that is capable of translating the code into action? I would wager that nobody listening to this and watching would ever say this is possible. So how then can those in favor of evolution and chance abiogenesis argue that no designer is required for our existence, while claiming these same abstractions which enable life somehow do not require intelligent agents? Now, ultimately, it is likely that Nephilim and myself's opponents will attempt to dismiss these kinds of arguments and claim that things just aren't truly understood yet, and that sometime in the future we will, and that only creationists think that these things require design. I would say, do not be fooled. This is a standard tactic levied against anyone in favor of an intelligent designer, and is nothing but a very shrewd defense mechanism created to escape the unavoidable questions. Now, as you consider the arguments made and the expansion of them throughout this debate, I would say ask yourself this: who is really the one who succumbs to a God of the gaps mindset? Is it those who conclude it is a more logical, plausible, and probable conclusion that these things could not occur by chance, or those who argue no matter how in any other context their positions would be laughable, you must believe this could all happen without a designer being required? I contend the evidence in favor of our creator is a self-evident truth. And while people like my opponents attempt to escape this ultimate truth, they are forced to kneel before the gods of chance and chaos. Neph, the floor is yours.
Neph, you might have yourself on mute.
Okay, great. If you could screen share what I have to present. There we go. Okay, so what are the properties of design? First, we have to understand that functionality is not the same as activity. Okay, so here are some of the properties of design. A high level of specificity, which results in functionality. Integration of interdependent entities, which results in functionality. The presence of semiotics, such as the use of symbols to represent a process, entity or concept. The presence of prescriptive information which prescribes the properties of entities, which results in functionality. The presence of functional information which specifies the order of a series of actions or a process which results in functionality, or the arrangement which inspires imagination and provides aesthetic pleasure, such as art. All these are proper processes of intelligence, all of them. And intelligence is necessary for any of them. Okay. Specificity is a mental process. To integrate things is a mental process. To use symbols to represent something is a mental process. To prescribe something is a mental process. To order a series of actions for function is a mental process. And to arrange things for pleasure or imagination is a mental process. These are the functions of life. Modern science has discovered that bacteria are that their ribosomes and their polymerase machines are designed in such a way that they can bond. Unlike human cells, these machines can fit together, bond to each other, and make a single unit. So you don't have to the cell doesn't have to transport the RNA to the ribosome for translation into a protein. It's already there. It goes from one machine right into the other. This is incredible design. The specificity of the arrangement of amino acids in these two molecules so that their faces match up just right so that they bond in exactly the right place for this DNA molecule to be RNA, DNA first into RNA is just amazing. The specificity is out of this world. If that's not designed, I don't know what is. To specify is a mental process. Modern science has discovered all kinds of features of living things that are designed. For example, this paper in the science journals, dichotomy of the definition of prescriptive information, describing algorithms in ribosomes and whatnot, is describing mental processes that exist in living systems. To prescribe things is a mental process. To order a series of actions, such as in an algorithm, is a mental process. Here's another paper by the same authors describing the same features. To prescribe is a mental process, and to order a series of actions that has function is a mental process, not a chemical one. Ken Dill, director of the Laufer Center of Physical and Quantitative Biology, a professor of physics and chemistry at Stony Brook, states this. The case I want to make for you is that proteins are machines. You have 20,000 types of machines in your body, and other living systems have other kinds of protein machines. There's tens to hundreds of thousands of different machines. And the first case I want to make for you is that these are real machines. This is not a metaphor. To prescribe is a mental process. To integrate is a mental process. To order a series of actions for function is a mental process, not a chemical one. Intelligence is always involved. Dr. Tony Paulson, part of the Human Genome Project, attempted with his team of people to map all the protein interactions between the p53 protein and other proteins and the DNA molecule. They ended up quitting very quickly. They conceded defeat and threw up their hands and said, when we started out, the idea that signaling pathways were very simple and linear. Now we appreciate that the signaling information in cells is organized through networks of information rather than simple discrete pathways. It's infinitely more complex. There's 200,000 estimated proteins in a cell. They were unable to even come close to mapping all those of one protein, all the interactions of one. They gave up. They said it was infinitely complex. The interdependencies between the p53 and other protein sets and the DNA and RNA was so complex, they gave up. They couldn't map one. I'm going to tell you that to order something that complex for function, that kind of integration and interdependency is not something that's plausibly caused by undirected chemical process, and intelligence must be present. New scientific study by the Karolinska Institute in Sweden has discovered that the grammar of genetic information is more complex than that of any spoken human language. DNA possesses information, linguistics, algorithms, semiotics, alphabetics, phonetics, semantics, punctuation, syntax, and grammar. These are all produced by mental processes. None of them are produced by undirected chemical processes. None. To use symbols to represent something is a mental process, not a chemical one. Linguistics requires mental processes. Here's another such paper describing prescriptive information in DNA. DNA possesses prescriptive information that makes choice contingent, causation, and control. Choices. Molecules choose to do things? No. A choice is made by a mind. To prescribe something is a mental process, and to order a series of actions for function is a mental process, not a chemical one. In Cornell University, not too long ago, had a symposium of scientists get together to discuss the origin of biological information in linguistics because it's perplexing. Because scientists know intrinsically that these properties are products of mind only, and yet we find them as critical components in everything that happens in a cell. This poses an unfathomable and unfixable problem for evolutionists. It cannot be that nature has produced it. These are gears on the legs of an Isis bug. They are designed not only so that they mesh with each other by one being offset slightly from the other, but the shape of them is so great that it reduces friction immensely. The legs are geared together so that when the bug jumps, he jumps exactly straight. He doesn't put forth more power out of one leg than the other. Both legs put out exactly the same amount of energy. So when the bug jumps, he jumps exactly straight every time. These are gears, just like the gears in the differential of an automobile, right there on the legs of an insect. Did nature direct these offset gears designed to reduce function more than man-made gears? I don't think so. Now, evolutionists would look at this pile of dirt and admit, oh, an intelligence put that there. That pile of dirt didn't collect itself in the middle of that grassy field. But they'll look at this protein ring, which is comprised of many thousands of amino acids in exact specified locations to create a function, which is to pop a hole in the membrane of a bacteria and allow poisons to enter to kill the bacteria. And they'll say that's not designed. Evolutionists will look at the space shuttle and say, it's obviously designed. But they'll look at a cell which is orders of magnitude more complex than a space shuttle, and they'll say, that's not designed. So what's going on here? Well, because of the incredible discoveries of modern science, we know for sure, we know without question, that biological systems were designed. They possess properties of design. Mental processes are necessary to produce their features. And today's evolutionists are in a terribly uncomfortable position. Modern science eclipsed Charles Darwin's idea by orders of magnitude. Had Charles Darwin known about the cell what we know today, he would not have written his infamous book. Today, to be an evolutionist is to be in denial of modern science. That's the end. That concludes my presentation.
Thanks so much, Nephilim Free. We're at about 6 minutes from each of you, roughly. So what we'll do is we'll give the same to Tom and Amy, as we usually have flexible opening statements. That's why we'll let each of them have as long as 6 minutes, or they can divide that 12 minutes up however they would like. So with that, thank you both, and want to let you know, Tom or Amy, if you can remind me, which one was it? I forgot who was going to go first between you. Whoever would like to go first. The floor is all yours.
I'd rather go second. Yeah. That's
okay. So yeah. So intelligent design is complete bullshit. Everyone knows it's bullshit. It's like flat earth levels of bullshit. Everyone in science rejects this. It's not even up for debate anymore. This has been debunked so much. We even had a federal court case that debunked this nonsense. These are the dumbest arguments humans could possibly come up with. So we have names for these arguments. Like it's called the argument from analogy fallacy. If you make an analogy that, oh, humans design stuff and this is really complicated, therefore design, well, we know that argument immediately fails. So that's, nope, we're done with that. All science, yeah, we're done with that. It's not even up for debate. It's gone. And another one is an argument from ignorance. We can't explain that yet, therefore design. Again, we're done with that. That's not even up for debate. That's such a crap argument. We already know it's done. So all of the intelligent design arguments are just, we can't explain stuff, therefore God. It's just a typical God of the gaps argument that we've seen for the past 1,000 years. Like we can go back 2,000 years ago and say, well, oh, we can't explain lightning. It's really complicated. None of the forces we know about could possibly produce lightning. Therefore, it must have been created by Zeus. It's the exact same argument they're making. It's just dumbass nonsense. So we know intelligent design is false for sure. And to believe it, you kind of have to just not really think about stuff very well, because we know the arguments are just clearly fallacious. Just obviously step one logic, this is false, don't use this argument kind of a thing. But they keep repeating it over and over again. So we have to keep just shooting them down and say, nope, that's an argument from analogy. I'm sorry, kiddo, that doesn't work. And just pat them on the head and then shoo them off because it's such a terrible argument. And that's all intelligent design is just a bunch of terrible arguments. That's it. I mean, you could just classify religious apologetics as like the collection of all things that demonstrate what bad human reasoning is. And you can just identify the label of the fallacious argument. We know it doesn't work. And so that's all their arguments are. It's just, hey, really complicated. I can't explain it, therefore design. Clearly fallacious. And that's the extent of intelligent design. Done.
Floor is all yours, Amy.
Click back in 1 second.
Thank you. I'm going to share, I guess. Tell me when it's being shared or viewed.
I see it.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Newman, and today's presentation is going to be Evolution versus Intelligent Design, a Tale of False Dichotomies. So why are we in this mess? Well, this is viewed as a proxy debate for atheism versus theism, with, of course, evolution on one side and creation on the other. But this is not actually the case. Reformers and non-literalists believe both. And overwhelmingly, the creationists are religious fundamentalists, which of course drive the reformists crazy. However, there actually are atheists who believe we're in a simulation, or that we have alien overlords. And so it actually would fit into categories like here, where we would have evolution and no creation, no evolution and creation, but then we could also have evolution, creation, and someone could come with no evolution and no creation, something completely different. So what about design? Well, most of our universe cannot design. In fact, most of life cannot even design, and most multicelled organisms cannot even design. We're really talking about mammals, birds, and a few other species who are actually able to do this. And I would really like to know what this designer is. Do they have cells? Can they reproduce? And how? What mechanisms do they use to design? And can this be replicated? And I'd also like to know why they seem to struggle to manifest in the physical world. The longer we seem to get away from the actual claims, the less these designers seem to appear. I also would like to know what exactly intelligent design is. I would like to know why complexity would be the hallmark of design when generally agreed upon in the design community is that simplicity is the goal of design. And my example is this, is would you want to use Google search engine or Yahoo search engine, and why? And I'll demonstrate this. This is an up-to-date homepage of the Yahoo search engine, and this is an up-to-date Google search engine. And I'm going to let everyone's own artistic choices decide for themselves. So what about evolution? Well, this means that genes randomly mutate and that the environment selects for them. An example would be a green bug has a higher chance of surviving in the forest because of their natural camouflage. However, in a snowy terrain, the chances of them getting eaten by a hawk go up. And so the white bugs actually have a higher chance of survival. And it's important to note that while genes may be random, the actual selecting pressure is the environment. And I would also like to stress that this is not the micro versus macro debate, which I've seen go on. We're talking about speciation, when one species breaks off into two because they cannot mate. We would not expect dramatic physical changes between the two species. Two fruit flies who speciated will forever be fruit flies, and major physical changes just need time. Now, for my last point, I want to discuss common descent. I'm going to show a few individuals which have taken selfie-like photos because I think in this case, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So both this guy and the one before are monkeys. Even so, you can see how strikingly similar so much of our facial features are. And I'm pretty sure this is what all of us look like under a camera phone. However, this gentleman here is an ape like us. And all I'm asking is, can we not see the resemblance of ourselves here? I do. And I think we can understand this fact connects us as a species to the entire planet. In conclusion, evolution is a combination of two facts, that genes randomly mutate and that the environment selects for them. This is not the opposite of creation or a god, merely a mechanism, like gravity, grinding down on living organisms. However, I have never seen any good evidence for creation, so that would need to be demonstrated in the positive. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Amy. We will now kick it into open discussion mode, folks. So this is going to be a lot of fun. This is where we will have just that kind of open conversation and where the debaters will kind of jump in at any point at which they feel like adding something. So with that, thanks so much, speakers. The floor is all yours.
Well, Tom, I find it rather entertaining that your introduction basically embodied exactly what I predicted in mine, that you will just dismiss it, and I think your words were bullshit.
Okay, talk to him.
In regards to intelligent design. I'm pretty sure that's the word you used. But just like in you and I's debate, you completely dismiss any evidence in regards to what would require a designer in any other context.
What do you mean? Because as far as I know, you don't have any evidence. You just have an argument from analogy, which is obviously fallacious.
Well, and that's why we discuss things like prescriptive and descriptive information versus noise, and what is required in any other context for that to exist.
Again, just argument from analogy, obviously.
It's not argument from analogy. If something it was required a do this, then this, then this, and it's done in an abstract manner, that is not just some random occurrence in any other position. So trying to dismiss that from, it's argument from analogy, like you always try to do.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about, because in biology, it's all just physics. The determination of biology is based on the shape of the DNA and the shape of the protein. So there's no.
I showed you about 6 different science papers in my presentations, which published in secular journals, which describe DNA as possessing algorithms, prescriptive and functional information.
Those are all physical. So again, all of those things support my position.
No, information is non-physical.
No, it's physical.
It can't be if it's.
No, they all agree it's physical. Like
I promise we'll come right back to you guys. I just want to hear from Amy really quick, and we'll kind of rotate around.
And I actually wanted to ask a question for you guys, to both NEPH and MADDOX. Do you believe that this designer also has DNA?
No, I don't believe God has DNA. But TJ, information can't be physical.
But then what is this God made of?
That's
we don't know.
That is irrelevant to whether or not a intelligent agent is required for our existence. We're not arguing cosmology. We're arguing whether or not, in order for life to exist, an intelligent agent is required. If we want to have the religious debate, we can have entirely different debate. This is about whether or not.
I view this as a proxy debate for religion.
Well, intelligent design versus evolution are two stark dichotomies on the existence.
But you do believe that it's like some guy who made us, right?
I think it's an intelligent agent. I think that the evidence of the requirements for life and the clear design elements from a technological perspective would be it's laughable to conclude that they could exist without that agent which has the foreknowledge of the outcomes in order to instantiate the information requirement into a physical medium, which is why TJump's position about information being physical, the medium which contains the information can be physical, but the meaning at the abstract meaning of it is not.
And can I have a definition of information?
There's no abstract meaning. So it's literally the information is the order of the DNA, and it's read by the physical shape of the protein. So it's all physical. There is no abstract anything in the cell. Like everyone in biology says that's nope, you're making shit up.
No, that's demonstrably false.
Everyone says that's bullshit.
That's demonstrably false because TJ,
biological information Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Boom,
TJ, information is not bound to its medium, which proves it's not made of matter.
You're making shit up.
Hold on.
You're making shit up. Information in biology is physical.
Is not bound to its medium.
As far as
we do have to let each other talk. So we'll go to NEPH, and I promise we'll keep circling around. Go ahead, NEPH.
So, for example, I'll demonstrate for you how we can know conclusively information is not made of matter. Information is not bound to its medium. So if I have the Bible and it's encoded with information, right? But when I convey the information that's in the Bible by speaking it to you, typing it to a computer disk, mailing it to you, whatever, I don't have to move one atom of matter that comprises the book anywhere to share the information, and yet the information doesn't change. So what this proves is the information is not made of matter because it's not part of the medium. See, so information is not made of matter.
Again, that's such a stupid
TJump, I'm just going to eviscerate your entire position. I'm going to read directly from a paper.
Go for it.
The innumerable attempts that have been made to reduce the functional information of genomics and molecular biology to nothing more than physical combinatorics and or thermodynamics will fail for reasons best summarized in the peer-reviewed anthology entitled The First Gene, The Birth of Programming, Messaging, and Formal Control. I mean, your ongoing argument that the medium, which is the genetic code which is housed inside the DNA, is purely physical when it is a well-recognized fact, and there's even a new field of science, relatively new field of science, biosemiotics, which is specifically focused on the signs and abstract meanings of the sequences which result in alternative outcomes but do not have direct chemical transformation in order to execute the function. I mean, this is exactly what protein synthesis is the transfer of abstract information from two different syntaxes into an outcome. I mean,
Well, that's really nice.
Hold
but,
on one sec. I just, NEPH, sorry. Just want to make sure that we'll hear from Amy and then we'll go to TJump because we've heard from both of the the intelligent design peeps. And so I want to go back to first Amy and then TJump.
I think I can help clear this up. As far as I can tell, information is a concept that only happens among consciousnesses. So I would like an actual definition of information. I have my definite information, but I don't want to give it until I kind of, what do you guys mean by information?
Let me address that real quick,
Okay.
John, and then I would be pleased if you did. The correct definition of information is knowledge conveyed from a sender to a receiver, employing a language agreed upon by both parties. For example, if two people are stargazing and one of them observes that the planet, a star, is blue, he's only gained knowledge about it. There's no information created yet. But when he turns to his fellow stargazer and says, "Do you see that star? It is blue." Now information has been created because something has been informed. Knowledge was conveyed from a sender to a receiver, and if they both speak the same language, the knowledge can be conveyed. But if one speaks Chinese, the other guy speaks Portuguese, no information can be conveyed. So both have to agree on the language. See, knowledge conveyed, sender to receiver, agreeing upon the language.
Can I just respond very quickly? I don't 100% disagree with that. But what I would take the word knowledge out because I view knowledge as like a subset of beliefs. And once again, knowledge is something that an agent, so bacteria or fungi don't gather knowledge the same way we do. What I was more looking for, and this is the definition within information systems, is that information is data that has been deciphered. So without a mind, there's just random data. Data, you could just have characters, and even if you just were to take Chinese and you didn't understand Chinese, it would all just be data. It just looked like gibberish, and that's what it sounds like to you when people speak Chinese to you. But you start to learn the codes, you start to be able to decipher Chinese, and automatically your brain starts to twist the gears, and what you're doing is you're turning data into information.
To decipher
is really what I would call information.
To decipher is a mental process, not a chemical one.
No.
Is a
Yes.
No. So again, all of that's just nonsense that has no basis in reality. You're just making shit up. So again, I just go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Information and Evolution, Section 8. The last sentence of the first paragraph states, "We rightly ignore some properties of DNA and focus on others, but it is a mistake to treat these abstractions as extra entities with mysterious relations to the physical domain." So it just says that, nope, that's all crap. It's just physical.
Well, I can provide you a quote from Dr. Werner Gitt.
I don't care.
Okay, it says the opposite. TJ, let me finish.
No, I'm not done yet. Stop talking. I'm not done yet.
Okay, I'll let you
interrupting.
finish.
So again, the consensus in biology in every field of sciences is you're just making shit up. Like information is just physical. You can just Google physical information in every field, and that's what it means, is it is physical. In physics, it's physical. In biology, it's physical. In every field, it's physical. There is no abstraction here at all. The consensus in all scientific fields is you're making shit up.
Okay,
no, that's
a categorically false statement, TJ.
Nope.
That's true.
I just read it from the Stanford Encyclopedia.
Okay, are you going to shut up now and let us talk, or are you going to be a jerk?
Go for it.
Okay, awesome, cool. Now, in the context of Amy, to address your point there, would you say that when a programming language, again, as I've mentioned in my opening statement, the programming languages that enable us to have this conversation right now, is there consciousness that is a mental faculty in the current moment that is executing the interpretation and the transmission of the information that is my voice and the meaning of the words that I'm using over to your ears right now?
So, in my opinion, there is a form of consciousness that the computers have, but they lack a lot of the features that we have, like self-awareness, sentience, and other things.
Right, I'm referring directly to the hardware and the software and the compilers that are enabling the information system transfers to occur. Like,
So
do
ask your question.
those physical mediums have mental faculties?
Do those physical mediums have mental faculties? No. I would say the hardware is simulating certain processes that we do, like information processing.
I would agree
One
100%.
second. Just to be sure that you're done there, Amy. Just because it's getting, I appreciate everybody's passion, but just want to be sure
I
everybody
love
gets a chance
all
to finish.
3 guys here, so we're good. Especially TJump, but the 2 others too.
Let's not go nuts. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm glad you agree with that point, because where I'm going with all this is while in the physical mediums and components that are enabling that information transfer to occur do not have mental faculties themselves. They do have functions and processes which were initiated by intelligent agents, humans in this context, in order to interpret the information from in all the different facets that's occurring, right? This is going all the way from the computers, the microphones, through the Ethernet, back to your computer, being translated and broadcast, right? Turned back into audio.
I would say the difference is, though, is that we actually came first. And so even though it looks like we have a lot of these functions that come from the computer, I actually think that we are building a lot of functions that we have in a simulated way. And then we're just looking back at
it. I would not disagree with you on that. The point I'm making is that on the biological level, the exact same process is occurring that is in terms of information transfer and execution, compilation, and translation is occurring for the fundamental elements of biology which enable life to exist. So I guess the ultimate question I would have to you is it your position that intelligent agents, in this context humans, were required for the and is it reasonable to conclude they would be required for what we're using right now to have the conversation? And if so, why, if the exact same things exist in biology, is it not also a logical deduction that an intelligent agent was required in order for those things to exist?
I think it had to come from us because we're building things. We are building structures like say we're in cybernetics and you want to build a fake hand. You do need a human to actually build that. But I think what we're trying to say is that there are structures that naturally form, that not only is it artificial, but it is natural, that we are natural machines.
The problem with that is nature doesn't make machines. Nature doesn't. There's no chemist. First, let me share this with you.
Okay.
This is from Dr. Git Werner, former director of the German Federal Institute of Physics and Technology. About information, he says, information is a non-physical fundamental entity which the laws of physics and matter cannot produce. Information is a product of non-physical mind. No physical thing itself is information. Observing something allows you to gain knowledge about its properties, which then can be conveyed to someone else, thus producing information by sharing knowledge we have gained through investigation, observation, and study. So information is not physical, and no chemist in this world knows of any process by which matter organizes itself into complex things, especially things which have function. For example, a chemist's job is basically to make matter do what it does not want to do. That's what every chemist does. Every chemist in the world knows matter does not organize itself to levels of complexity. It just doesn't happen. And what man is able to make chemically is infinitely less complex than what we find in biological systems. And another thing you said that I would address is that we have these properties and therefore nature made them. The problem with that is what made all the little features in all your cells, in fact integrated them to make your organs, is prescriptive information. That is, it's an information package, the DNA. The information in that package prescribes. It's published in the science journals today that it's prescriptive information that prescribes the machinery of your cell and how it functions is prescribed by information. It's not that nature makes it. Nature is told how to assemble it with machines that already exist. So you have to be able to explain, this is the problem for the evolutionist. You have to be able to explain the origin of the information, the prescriptive and functional information, and then how natural, undirected chemistry is able to design things. Give me a shot at that.
I'd also say that we're missing an important part here, is that not only can things be matter, but things can be energy. And so, when we're really talking about our thoughts, we're really talking about the neurons, which are made of matter, which are having a charge and releasing little chemical bolts. And so the actual thoughts are probably what we would consider energy. But I'm very scared sometimes when people use the word energy. So in this context, I mean to do work. The neurons are sending impulses that we translate as our thoughts. And I just want to ask NEPH if you can address this to me, especially in the design community. Complexity is known as not being designed. Why do you guys think that complexity is design and not simplicity?
I disagree that complexity is not known to be designed. Every engineer and software programmer in the world would disagree with that.
No, I disagree with that.
I would say they are. I think your ideas about mind being a chemical process produced by the physical brain is false for a number of reasons. I could discuss the philosophy of mind with you if you wanted to, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about design, biological design. Are the biological systems that we observe, are they designed by an intelligence, or is nature capable of producing them? I provided scientific evidence that nature possesses properties of design, right down to the genetic information, which is algorithmic and linguistic, that prescribes all the features. It's a book of information on how to make them. But the burden for you and TJ tonight is to show that undirected, non-mental processes are capable of designing the features of living systems, and I've yet to hear an argument for that.
We can actually demonstrate it in a lab. That's the number case. We can
give us let's cite
2009. John Sutherland took a bunch of sugars and phosphates, mixed them together, put UV light, created RNA spontaneously, no human intervention at all. Poof.
That's not true.
Yep, it's true.
No, who did this?
John Sutherland.
Okay, you said John did it?
John Sutherland.
John did it, right. Nature didn't do it. Good job.
No, kiddo. He put the experiment.
There was an intelligence involved, TJ.
Nope.
Fail.
See, that's why ID proponents are so stupid, because they think if you put the lab pieces together, that kind of constitutes as human intervention. That's how stupid they are.
The process was ordered by an intelligence, TJ.
Nope. Wrong.
Yes.
Again,
Okay, so this is from 2018.
You have to be an idiot.
It is not easy to see what replaced the flasks, pipettes, and stir bars of a chemistry lab during prebiotic evolution, let alone the hands of the chemist who performed the manipulations.
Again, this doesn't
and yes,
in any way help
most of us
One
are
sec.
not comfortable
Again,
with
I
the
haven't
idea
even
of divine.
begun.
One sec. I do want to let him finish.
So again, you have to be an idiot.
No,
to be an
not you, Tom.
I
I
hadn't
think.
finished, so I was still in the middle
Okay,
of my statement.
gotcha.
So you have to be an idiot to believe in intelligent design. If you think that any mechanism set up by a human hand must necessarily have human intervention, then you just literally don't understand how science works, because you're an idiot. So we've done many experiments that have shown RNA self-reproducing informational systems purely by natural processes, because they are just natural processes. And stop. Don't. All right, so we've done this. We've seen it in the lab. It's over. But I wanted to read something real quick. Creationism is a pseudoscience. You could just look at forget where it was. Where did I keep it? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Level of support for some evolution. The vast majority of the scientific community and academia supports evolutionary theory, explanation of the fully account of observed in biology, paleontology, microbiology, genetics, anthropology, and others. A Gallup poll shows that only about 5% of American scientists support intelligent design. Additionally, the scientific community considers intelligent design a neo-creationist offshoot to be unscientific, pseudoscience, junk science. The U.S. National Academy of Sciences have stated that intelligent design and other claims of supernatural invention are not scientific because they cannot be tested by experiment. They do not generate any predictions. They propose no new hypothesis. In September of 2005, 38 Nobel laureates issued a statement saying intelligent design is fundamentally unscientific. And I can just go down the list of pretty much every scientist here that says this is just joke, non-science. All you're doing is making stuff up. You look at something, you call it complicated, and say, well, we can explain this as mind, not evidence.
I want to respond to what you said and explain your error in thinking that nature did this in the laboratory. Let me explain how they do these things in the laboratory for you. Firstly, the temperature is set for the right temperature for the process to go on. Impurities are removed. Hold on, let me finish. Impurities are removed. Chemicals are added in the right order, one at a time.
Okay, we've got to let him finish here.
Okay, so they set the temperature correctly. They remove impurities, which would prevent the chemical bonds. They add the chemicals in the right order at the right temperature so that they will bond. Everything about it is controlled by a human being. It's not like they took all the components necessary, threw them into a flask, and waited for 24 hours. That's not what happened. That is not how they do it, TJ.
No, that's
no, it is not. If you read what they write, every process along the way, every step is controlled, highly controlled by an intelligence.
No, again, so the reason I posted that one is because that's exactly what they did. So that proves you wrong.
No, it is not what they did.
That's why I listed that one. Go look it up.
No, it's
I also have another question for you guys so you have a chance. Okay, maybe you guys don't know what the actual designer is made of, but which is fair. Saying I don't know is actually the most honest thing we can say. But how about how did he make life? How did, what is the process by which he designs? Like, what is the mechanism? Like, is there an actual software? Is it what is it? How do they do it? No, well, I mean, intelligence is something that we're doing. Like, it's there you can use knowledge where it's like you're gathering knowledge to make.
It's the same process humans employ when they design mental processes.
Yeah, but we can't go like this. We can't be like, okay, I'm gonna make a baby. Baby.
Now you're arguing for the existence of God. What we're looking for
is know how he did it.
What we're looking for is the evidence of design in biological systems. Either is it designed by an intelligence or is it designed by undirected natural chemistry? The mechanism by which God is able to do it is not pertinent to the discussion.
But I'm just
whether or not
the
properties of design are present in living systems or not is the debate.
I'll give an example. So I'm a coder. I like JavaScript. So I'm writing in JavaScript and I'm using a compiler. I'm using Notepad++. That's, I'm using English because English conveys the language. I'm sitting there and I'm putting comments in. I'm uploading the file to the web to see if it's working and testing it. Does this designer have that type of mechanism? Do they test? Do they fail? Do they go back and try it again and try the code differently?
Well, let me address, since you're a coder, we can actually talk on the same language here. So let's address the position about the coding aspect, right? So number one, the genetic code has syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. And since you're a coder, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And there is a compiler. There is a executable functions, right? There are also if, then, and else statements and outcomes. Beyond, and just as to put this in context, there are multiple programming languages that have been developed which directly translate into genetic functions. I think there's like 6 or 7 of them now, and there's a massive push, just like when not that long ago in the coding realm, where it was, the fights between Python, Ruby on Rails, all those different ones, which one's going to have the most popularity and most functions, right? And then Angular, JS, and Node, and all those different pieces, which one's going to be the most popular? But the exact same thing is occurring in bioinformatics and genetics, because they've realized, holy crap, this is qualifies as Turing complete, and we have been able to create our own languages which can be compiled and executed into biological functions. And all of the logic rules exist, the logic gates for all of the programming. So in the context of existence of life, if every form of life that we see has a fully executable programming language, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, and all different variables that are required for it, and we observe the abstraction of the meaning of the code base is being translated. Since you're a coder, do you ever think that ASIC and anything else would be able to be translated into binary from JS and vice versa without an intelligent agent first having applied the abstraction to the meaning of those code bases?
I think that when we are actually programming, it is an intelligent agent that is putting things together and trying things out. I think in nature,
about
I do want to be sure that Amy gets a chance to respond, and I promise to come right back to you.
I want to make sure my question is
ask the question
there.
again.
The clarification I'm asking for is, could the syntax, semantics, and pragmatics and the asynchronicity of JavaScript exist without an intelligent agent having first assigned the meaning to var, right? And then was an intelligent agent also required for the creation of the compiler and the translation process that turns it into binary machine code for execution?
I would say something similar or analogous can form without a designer. I think what it would be is that nature would, as I use the example, grind down. If something in the DNA code is programmed wrong, it will end up failing and taking its own self out of the chain. I think that it's actually different because I think it would be more similar if there was actually a god could come down and he'd be like, look, Bob, you have a cool set of DNA, but things just aren't working. I got to go in there and I got to change your DNA. I got to fix things. And right,
but you're still
I think it is possible. I think it is possible to naturally have, in fact, it brings me back to my last point. I think this formed before coding languages.
So yes, it is possible. If it's,
I think it is possible.
So what you're describing is the modification of a already written function, not the origination of the function itself.
Right. So if it's physically determined and the language already exists, it can be modified physically. Yes.
How does and the entire point that I'm making, and I've asked in multiple different ways now, is how does the language and the meaning of the language and the syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, which govern the language, which enable the language to exist, how do those come into existence without the intelligent agent to assign the abstract values to it?
Because it's physically determined. It's literally just physics and the shapes of the things.
I think the physics and the chemistries are the actual laws. In fact, even when we're describing, when we're being descriptive, we're just trying to actually record what we see and not trying to put our...
Nev, I'm gonna make a quick response. I'm gonna read from a paper and then I'll shut up.
Yeah, go for it.
And this addresses what you're saying, Amy, as well as TJump's earlier tangent about RNA. Nucleic acid can spontaneously form without purpose, such as a polyadenosine something other, forming by physiochemical law on a Montreux-Morlierite clay template surface. But the latter is a classic example of all the switches being set the same way when law is involved. A polyadenosine is a nucleic acid, but it can't program anything. It can't relay any information because all of the four-way switches have been set the same way by law. What so many fail to realize is that RNA and DNA are nothing but ordinary physical molecules that have the potential of being used for information retention only through selection of each nucleotide. It is the sequencing of particular nitrogen-based selections that accounts for any information retention in a nucleic acid molecule, not the largely inert DNA itself. Prescriptive information is not physiodynamic. It is formal, though it can be instantiated into a physical medium using dynamically inert configurable switches. The number one, that just the relevance of RNA being able to form from a purely chemical perspective is irrelevant to the syntax, semantics, and pragmatics that have to be derived from the non-random structure of the sequences in it, and the development of a syntax that can be translated and executed through semantics and pragmatics. And that is abstract. Again, I keep using this term. That is abstract information that does not have physical form, because it's two completely separate things. And it's like saying that the meaning of the JavaScript you write in English and its translation into binary, that somehow those two are the exact same thing without the translation protocols. And moreover, how do you conclude that even though they can be interpreted to mean this, the same thing by a computer that has the appropriate elements, or a human reading it has the intellect, how do you say those things happened without the intelligent agent and just randomly occurred?
Because
they're physically determined.
And I think we're replicating what nature does, not the other way around. So like an if then else case, it might just be, I'm trying to make one, it might just be in nature that something, you know, if two molecules bind when they have 5 atoms, then do this. If 5 molecules do not bind when they do the other thing. You could actually make logical flows from nature and from physics itself. It's just that the intelligence is putting that onto it. It's not an actual, it's not as if someone's writing there and going, John Doe, I'm going to make John Doe. Jane Doe, I'm going to make Jane Doe. It's that it is a chemical process that started, that is replicating, and because of the pressures, the environmental pressures, it has gotten better at doing this copying task. That's what DNA is.
What I'm hearing is a total failure of reasoning here. What's going on is you folks are denying that information is immaterial. TJ is misrepresenting.
Hey, I said it was energy.
Misrepresenting what scientists do in a laboratory to cause things to happen. I'd like to share my screen for just a second, if I could. Praise, could you share my screen for just a second? I want to show something on the screen. Thank you. This is a paper published in Nature. You know, these people love evolution. Genetic programs, published 2012. Genetic programs constructed from layered logic gates in single cells. So we know that today that logic gates, just like the schematics in an electronic diagram, are used by the cells. And this is what they say. Genetic programs function to integrate environmental sensors, implement signal processing algorithms, and control expression dynamics. These programs consist of integrated genetic circuits that individually implement operations ranging from digital logic to dynamic circuits, and they have been used in various cellular engineering applications, et cetera, et cetera. So what modern science has discovered is logic gates are programmed with algorithms in your DNA. And so just like the schematics of an electronic circuit board that goes in a computer or an electronic device has all kinds of logic, you know, if this, then that, if qualification is not met, then go back to step 3. If step 3 is insufficient, move to 7. If it passes step 7, go to 8. If step 8 requires you to make a choice between B and C, then go to B, and if it works, then not go back to A and then try D. This kind of thing is logic gates in genetic expression been discovered in modern biological systems. You guys have to explain the logic gates, why and programming, why algorithms and logic is used by cells, complex logic, not simple, not if A is bigger than B, then let's do C.
Complexity isn't the hallmark of design. We don't have to
is one of them.
No,
It is one of them. Yes.
Simplicity is.
No, and here's why, because as I've said, no chemist in the world knows of a process whereby natural laws cause matter to organize complexly.
We've observed it in the lab.
It doesn't happen.
But
No
why would
scientist
you
has
want
ever
complexity?
documented it.
That's not the hallmark of a designer. So
High complexity is a hallmark of a design.
no, it is not. Would
Well,
you be
so
able
again,
to
that's
show
completely-
engineers that
that's
agree
completely
with you?
false.
So again,
Every engineer would agree with me.
That is not true.
So-
That
so
is
again,
simply not true.
Find one that does.
so again, we've seen it in the lab. We've observed it. So praises special pleading, trying to argue that humans' hands touched it at some point, isn't actually an argument. No scientist accepts that. Everyone in biology accepts this is purely natural processes. Again, which is why I just quoted like all of these Nobel laureates and scientists who just say intelligent design is bunk. I mean, they all just say what he's saying is garbage. They all know the science, but they all just say what he's saying is garbage because they know it doesn't represent anything about what they're doing. It's like, yes, are there logic gates in cells? Yes. Is that physical? Yes. Is information physical? Yes. There's no abstractions in anywhere in biology. It's purely just physical, as the quote I gave from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Like, no one in science supports what he's saying. He's just making crap up. It's a really nice, interesting hypothesis that he's made up, a cool story, kind of like Harry Potter, but it has no basis in reality. To quote the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy again, for its theory to qualify as scientific, it is expected to be consistent, parsimonious, useful, empirically testable, and falsifiable, based on multiple observations, correctable and dynamic, progressive, provisional, or tentative. For any theory, hypothesis, or conjecture to be considered scientific, it must meet most or ideally all of these criteria. The fewer criteria met, the less scientific it is. If it only meets a few or none, then it cannot be considered a scientific or in any meaningful sense of the word. Typically, objections to defining intelligent design as science are lacks consistency, violates the principle of parsimony, is not scientifically useful, is not falsifiable, is not empirically testable, is not correctable, dynamic, progressive, or provisional. Yeah, it's just junk. Just entire junk. Like everyone in the scientific community agrees it's junk because it does nothing.
No, that's not true. In fact, intelligent design is gaining ground in secular scientific circles. That's why at Cornell University a few years back there was a symposium, a mixture of intelligent design proponents and completely secular scientists who gathered at Cornell University to discuss the origin and of information in biological systems.
Would you be
And
able to
so,
provide evidence?
15 years ago, such a symposium at a major Ivy League secular university would not have been possible. Today it's happening because scientists are coughing up evolution left and right. So the statement that information is not physical, I've proven that false by the fact that information is not bound to its medium. What we're hearing from you is that nature can, all we're hearing is intelligence isn't involved, but we haven't. John and I have been providing evidence for things like logic gates. We haven't yet heard you guys provide a single rational reason, much less a shred of science.
You would agree
that shows that nature is able to do these things. That's what you guys need.
Hey,
Gotcha.
All we're hearing is no, it's not true. That's all we're hearing.
We're going to
But wait,
switch it
they
over.
happen in nature. But you showed evidence that they happen in nature. You're just trying to say that the simulated versions that we created are the same as the ones that happen in nature.
No, I provided
the
evidence that
natural ones-
intelligence is involved.
Well, let me address that.
Ben.
I mean, you mentioned this earlier, so I'm gonna. You were talking about genetics and computer science, right? So read something from a paper here. So the first problem with trying to reduce the cybernetic nature of molecular biology to mere metaphor is that biological programming predates the very existence of metaphors. Molecular biology provided the model for the entire field of cybernetics. Genetic cybernetics inspired Turing's, von Neumann's, and Wiener's development of computer science. Had it not been for their observation of linear digital genetic control, computers might never have been invented. The argument is therefore untenable, if not amusing, that computer science generated only an analogy applied to molecular biology in the mind of humans. If anything, computer science is analogous to the formal logic of molecular biology that not only preceded, but produced Homo sapiens' brains and minds. The obvious point of all that is that we're doing a complete flip-flop of what is actual reality. And the complexity, there's another term of maximum compressibility in the context of the simplicity that you're talking about. So genetic code has the ability to have multiple function executions built into the exact same sequence. So imagine when you are writing you're writing an app, right? And what if you could have more than one function execute from the exact same lines of code, because there can be a subset syntax built into the JavaScript. That is, in my opinion, very cool, number one. Number two, it would make things a hell of a lot easier. And but number three, that would be extraordinarily hard to do, for at least for me, and I wager for you too. We're sitting there figuring out a function, you're writing the code, but if you were being able to basically be writing two simultaneous functions with the exact same lines of code, that would be awesome, right? But it'd be more simple, but at the same time, it would require that much more mental capacity to execute, right? Well, that is exactly what is occurring in the genetic code. You've got the sequence information for proteins, and in terms of this codon equals this amino acid, but you also have additional a subset code base called translational pausing, which alters the timing of the actual execution, just like in a 3D printer, and like using G code, for example, is modifying the timing, the physical position, angles, things of that nature. Well, the exact same thing is happening in protein synthesis, being executed by a programming language that has double syntax, being able to execute that control with the exact same data stream. And it's things that like that to me are, number one, phenomenally cool, and number two, stark evidence for the requirement of an intelligent agent to be able to execute simultaneous functions inside of a data set.
Yeah, so we call that an argument from analogy, so we know that's immediately false. I mean, it's a really nice story they've made up to try and justify their preconceived ideas, but we know it's false. Again,
okay, so additionally, there's literally papers out the yin-yang on this.
So again, additionally, the scientific community considers intelligent design a neo-creationist offshoot to be unscientific, pseudoscience, junk science. National Academy of Sciences consider intelligent design to be not science because they cannot be tested by experiment, do not generate predictions, and propose no hypothesis. Like, everyone in science agrees it's just garbage. Like, you keep mentioning all these scientific papers. Whoa. So you keep mentioning all these scientific papers, but they all show you're wrong. Like, the entire scientific community says you're wrong. Like, they're composing that's true, but they say, whoa.
Tom, do you even have the mental capacity to comprehend what we're talking about?
Another 10 seconds, and then I promise we'll come right back to you, John.
Well, I gave him like 5 minutes. So again, the scientific community, community says everything you said is just a bunch of junk nonsense that you made up to make up your own criteria of what you think reality should be, but no one actually cares. Like, the scientific community actually works on testable predictions and what they can demonstrate in a lab, and all of your stuff is just made up post hoc rationalization, which is why everyone in science considers intelligent design to be a pseudoscience. Like, National Academy of Sciences quote, Stanford Encyclopedia quote, Nobel laureates quote, polls on the topic. Like, you just pick whatever criteria you want. Quoting scientific papers isn't going to help you. Cherry picking quotes isn't going to help you. Reality just says it's a pseudoscience.
And MADDOX, can I ask, say we're just building a new program. We're just starting out. We're just opening. We're getting ready. Don't we start out making things a simple thing? Don't things start out simple and not complex? Doesn't the fact that our code gets like super long just a matter of time, and then we have to spend time putting time into this complexity to rearrange it so we can resimplify it? We spend all this time trying to make things simple, and God forbid the users can't understand what we're doing. Well, then we got to spend more time trying to resimplify things again, right?
Yeah, but in terms of how, okay, does the app that you're creating, does it start out simple with only a few lines of code? Yes, but you don't publish that until you have a workable model, do you? No,
I agree with that. I agree.
But beyond all that, and this goes back to the ultimate root of the discussion, is it doesn't matter if the app started out with a couple of lines of code as you were building out the structure. You still probably were using a framework, right? And you were using, you had to have been using a language, right? So the point is that you never could have even started simply unless those things existed prior to. And the point that I'm making is that the language and the framework are fundamental requirements for life. So it doesn't matter if you could have started out simple or not. It's how do you start in the first place? If you didn't know, if going back to Fortran, right? If that never had been created, then you never would have been creating punch cards and everything else that was happening in that time frame, right? And you never would have ultimately concluded with what we're doing now, which in terms of the type of coding that we're doing in the digital space. But again, you have to go back to how does the language and the syntax, semantics, and pragmatics that enable it to exist, how do those occur without the intelligent agent? Because unless you're going to say that JavaScript and what it means can happen without somebody creating it and providing the abstract meaning, then it's a non-starter for me.
I would say a natural language can occur. It sounds weird because we're used to talking about programming from a person. We're used to talking about programming from I sat here and I made an app. But these functionalities, we haven't gotten to the age of the earth, but let's just say thousands to billions of years. These are things that have been forming and grinded down until their most usefulness.
You keep using the grinded down, but that means the grinding can only happen.
Gravity.
The grinding can only occur if the function already exists.
But would you agree we're also not talking about abiogenesis? We're talking about because I actually, it sounds crazy, but I wanted to go out of my way to say you could be a religious evolutionist. That is actually in the deck.
Well, here's my thoughts. TJ, you quote secular guys who deny intelligent design, but then you complain that when I cite opposing evidence, when I provide actual evidence from science journals. So if your claim quoting people doesn't help your case, I can throw that right back at you. So you're not making an argument. All you're doing is complaining. If I could share my screen.
Well, I wasn't refuting. I grant that there are logic gates in itself. All of the natural science supports the evolution literally. So I'm not refuting that. I'm accepting those things, and they support my position, not yours. They
I know you believe that. I know you believe that. Let me share my screen if I well, not all of them, no, because there's plenty of people who believe in creation or intelligent design. Let me share my screen, please, if I can. So let me share this with you. Everybody knows that to program or make choices is a mental process. Here's the paper that I cited earlier, one of them. Dichotomy, and that means it's a problem for evolutionists. They can't understand, can't find a way to solve it. Dichotomy. In the definition of prescriptive information suggests both prescribed data and prescribed algorithms, biosemiotics, applications, and genomic systems. They state in their paper, prescriptive information, that is, the information prescribes something. It says this is how you make it, and this is what it'll do. Right? Prescriptive information either instructs or produces formal functionality in a way as to organize and institute a prescribed set of logic gate programming choices. Everybody intrinsically knows that logic gates are produced by mental processes, and programming is produced by intelligence. They state, without such steering of psychochemical interactions by choice contingent causation and control, metabolic pathways and cycles would be impossible to integrate in a cooperative and holistic metabolism. The organizing principle states that non-trivial formal organization can only be produced by choice contingent control, causation and control. So what science is publishing, let me finish.
You made up
so what science,
no, I didn't. Let him finish, and then I want to give you a heads up. I'll let you finish in a sec, Neff. Just want to let everybody know we will be going to Q&A pretty shortly here. Okay. So both debaters and the audience. And so go ahead, Neff.
So this paper and many like it now published in the science journals, that DNA is programmed information, it's algorithmic, it possesses linguistics, which includes semiotics, the application of meaning to a symbol, and interpretation of meaning from a symbol, which are both mental, not chemical processes. And they're stating now, choice contingent causation and control. Nobody believes in their right mind that chemicals choose anything. choices or mental processes made by intelligences. And so what science is publishing is that everything about biological systems is designed by intelligence, whether they accept the inference of that or not. So far, I want to make an observation about this debate. John and I have been providing logic and actual evidence from science journals that systems that are biological systems employ mental processes, information, choice contingent controls, algorithms, semiotics, linguistics, and complexity that goes beyond what's probable for natural chemical processes. So far, all we've heard from you two is no, it's not true, and that's BS. We haven't seen one shred of evidence yet from
Could
either
I
one
ask
of you
you now?
that undirected chemical
All right, now, we gotta
processes
keep-
are able
so-
to design anything biological.
So
Nothing.
if anyone who's listening, you notice Neff made up a statement in there. He said, everybody knows that, I think, I forget what it was. That
Some
logic is
people are
mental or
saying, no,
something.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody knows. It's a Donald Trump statement. It clearly means Neff made this crap up and he wants everyone else to believe it, just like Donald Trump uses that term. Exactly the same. So that statement isn't in there. He doesn't. There's no mention to these things are mental in that quote that he did. He completely just made that up. Secondly, I quoted all of these scientific journals who say ID is crap. I mean, I could give you all the scientific papers of RNA and all the natural processes that we've discovered and all the progress we've made in these fields, but why, when I can just show the entire field of ID is crap, like by the vast majority of scientists? That just covers the entire spectrum of everything right there. That's all we really need. I mean, we're done on that point. Like, science says that's crap.
And Neff,
Yeah,
I wanted
somebody
to
saying
ask,
so doesn't make it so.
and yeah, I didn't want to pull an argument from authority, but I have looked up some. You will admit, Neff, that at least most of the papers you are quoting are from people who believe in evolution and are trying to show mechanisms in evolution. They're not actually creationists trying to prove creation.
And
It
that's
doesn't
why
just
I
prove
cite
your point.
That's-
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's why I cite them. So the evolutionists can't complain, oh, that's the work of a creationist, because if I did, that's exactly what they do. That's why almost everything I cite is from secular journals, secular papers written by evolutionists. The properties of design is what we're talking about, properties. I'm providing scientific evidence that intelligence and mental processes are involved in the design of everything biological. And what we're hearing from you is TJ saying, no, all these guys say it's not true, and not a shred of evidence that undirected chemistry can do it. So you guys are completely failing. John and I are providing evidence. You guys are saying it's not true.
Well, that's wrong, actually. So again, all I need to do is show, here are the experts in the field who say you're making shit up. So you can claim it explains it. You can claim it's evidence.
Opinions.
And then the experts in the
Hold on
field
now.
who understand the evidence can say you're just making shit up. So we can make shit up too if you want. I can make up Pixies did it. And now we have an equivalent explanation to your nonsense.
So you're
By the way,
appealing to
you-
opinions,
hold on,
and I'm
one second,
providing
one second.
statements in
So-
science journals.
What we should do soon is probably go into these closing statements, which can be like roughly 2 minutes. They're flexible, and we can just kind of rotate. So I hate to interrupt there. I know that we can keep going, but just to kind of respect everybody's time, and because it's already been time's been flowing. It's already been an hour and a half. So we were going to jump into the Q&A in just a little bit. If we start with who we originally started with, we can just kind of go in that same order. So if I remember right, it was MADDOX who first started. If you have maybe just a couple of minutes, we'll give you MADDOX. And this is like flexible, but please help me by being short and pithy. We will kind of go around the circle and we will finish up with Amy. So MADDOX, thanks so much. The floor is all yours.
Well, this was a interesting debate. Amy, I actually appreciated the conversation with you. TJump still continues to be full of shit and is, while claiming that we are not actually making any real arguments and nothing but analogy, all he does is make appeals to authority and apparently does not have the mental capacity to actually comprehend the arguments that are being made beyond what he's told they mean versus the potential implications of them from a macro view. Ultimately, for me, if you look at the evidence and you actually go down the proverbial rabbit holes of what makes life possible and the fact that it is prescriptive information that has been injected into a physical medium in order to execute the nanotechnologies that are required for us to exist. Everything from the transcription of DNA being done by molecular robots to the information systems that are and communication systems that are executed in every facet of every form of life to the nervous systems and the communication networks that work in unison to provide the ability for all the things that we take for granted to exist, to set claim and to argue that these things should have no possibility of having been designed when in no other context they would ever be considered possible without an intelligent agent. To me, it just exemplifies and embodies the reality that atheists are searching for any way to escape the stark reality that a intelligent agent exists and had to have existed in order for us to be here and to be even having these conversations. So for the audience, as you listen to this, comprehend, think about the discussions that I've had tonight, I implore you to go and do some research for yourself. Don't just listen to the crap that gets spewed by, and Amy, this is not directed at you, the crap that gets spewed, to just completely dismiss all of these things. Go look at it for yourself, make your own analysis, and see if it is a reasonable conclusion that an intelligent agent is a more logical, plausible, and probable conclusion than chance occurrence and undirected process.
Thanks so much. We will now kick it over to NEPH, and this will be roughly flexible 2 minutes as well.
Okay.
NEPH, floor is all yours.
Okay. Today's evolutionists are in denial of modern science because of the discoveries of modern science. It's been discovered that biological systems have incredible features of design, and mental processes are at the basis for the existence of everything about life. The science journals are publishing that genetic information is programmed. It possesses choice, contingent, causation, and control. Everybody intrinsically knows to make a choice is a mental process, not a chemical one. And logic gates, complex logic gates, like electronic schematics, that are extremely complex and have numerous built-in steps and don't have any fatal steps. And everybody knows that complex logic is a process of intelligence, not chemistry, where decisions are made and choices, things are compared to decide what's the next step to take, what's the best step to take. These are processes of intelligence that create logic, complex logic gates. Everybody knows it, except the evolutionists must deny it. So what we're hearing tonight is that evolution theory had ran into modern 20th century science and got smashed by the discoveries of modern biological science. And evolutionists have to be in denial of a tremendous amount of discoveries, claiming information is not immaterial. The algorithms in DNA, it's not really an algorithm. It just looks like one. This kind of thing is what we're hearing from them. And throughout this debate, all we've heard from myself and John have provided actual scientific evidence, even statements from science journals and images of things that are biological. And what we've heard from our opponents tonight is, no, that's not true. It's BS. You're wrong. And my guys say so. So this debate has all been about me and John providing evidence and them being naysayers. And that's not an argument.
Thanks so much, NEPH. We will now kick it over to TJump. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so essentially the intelligent design argument can be summed up like this. They're making shit up. That's essentially the summary of their entire argument. They accuse me of arguments from authority. Well, clearly they just don't know basic philosophy. An argument from authority is only a fallacy if they're not actual authorities. To quote the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, the fallacy, it's just on the section of fallacies, this section. The fallacy involves accepting of evidence as for a proportional or the preponderance pronouncement of someone who is taken to be an authority but is not really an authority. So if they're really an authority, it's not a fallacy at all. It's, in fact, what you should do. So to quote again from the Stanford Encyclopedia and all the sources I listed, the mass consensus of scientists everywhere all over the world think that intelligent design is bullcrap because it does nothing. It makes no predictions. It makes no progress in science. It's unfalsifiable. It's unparsimonious. Everything is just wrong with it because it's a garbage hypothesis. They're just making shit up. Anybody can make shit up. They didn't provide any evidence at all. They just said, here's stuff that we see in science and we can make up an explanation for it. But again, anybody can do that. The consensus in science is that there's natural explanations for all of that, which makes testable predictions like the RNA one that we've done, RNA and clay, the RNA made by the guy I mentioned earlier, John, whatever. We've made testable predictions. We've made progress in the field. Intelligent design has done nothing. They're just post hoc rationalization of making stuff up. And then they special plead and say, the human hand touched the experiment, so it must be human intervention, proof of intelligent design, because that's what they have to do. They have to special plead and move the goalposts because they don't actually have an argument. They have no evidence. They're just making shit up. We've actually demonstrated this in the lab. We know natural processes can produce these things. There's no such thing as specified information. Information is purely natural, it's purely physical. It can be produced by natural processes, which we have seen in the lab and can reproduce. Anyone can do it. It's just intelligent design is just garbage.
Gotcha. Thanks very much, Tom. We will now switch over to Amy for her flexible 2-minute statement.
And if you don't mind, can I screen share again? Or if you just make that my screen?
If our producer is still with us, who knows? Oh, thanks so much. So glad you're with us, Praise.
Wake up, Praise.
Ladies and gentlemen, evolution to me is a combination of two facts: that genes randomly mutate and the environment naturally selects them. I could spend a lot of time talking about common descent or intelligent design, but I honestly think a video is worth way more than anything I can. So here is a father gorilla playing with his son. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We will go into Q&A, folks. So with that, do want to say just a couple of quick reminders, folks. First, I have put all of the links of these speakers right there in the description just for you. So that way, if you're listening and you're like, I want more, well, you can have more by clicking on those links below. Also, want to let you know, thanks so much, folks. I always love just hanging out in the live chat, and I appreciate it. I want to give you could say a shout out, some street cred to those of you being positive and friendly, your normal friendly selves. We always appreciate that. And, it's like loose, it's kind of like, hey, sometimes people they're going to bicker, they're going to fight. And it's like, hey, well, we'll let it fly. They'll be friends after. But do want to just at the same time kind of give that thanks and appreciation for those of you who are kind of like, hey, we like to debate, but we also like to not be abusive. So thanks so much for that. All right. Getting started here. Want to say, hold on one sec. I'm gonna. It's my computer slow. We'll get there. Thanks so much for your super chat from Caleb, as he likes to be called, who says everybody is a winner in a debate with no blank. Okay, I can't rip on the person because they're not here. But Caleb, thanks for your super chat. Also says TJump's chair is evidence that bacteria can evolve and take on any form. Oh, Tom.
So true. Debunked right there. Proof of evolution.
Very.
Also, somebody says the links in the description don't work, or at least mine doesn't or something.
Hold on, let me check on this, Tom.
Bruce Wayne said that.
Thanks for letting me know about that. That's embarrassing, folks. Hold
Batman.
on. Well, I know that Tom's it might be that let's see. You will have to copy these and paste these into your browser because one or two of them will not work simply by clicking it. And that's, so for example, amynewman.media, That's Amy's actual webpage. And then youtube.com/TJump. If you just throw that into your browser spacebar, you can find their links or their pages. So thanks for that, though. Appreciate it. I'm sorry, Wilson says TJump's link isn't clickable. What a diva. Okay, thanks for you. Just teasing. I'll work on it. Dave Gar, thanks for your super chat, who says, hope all are well in these trying times. Thanks so much, Dave Gar. Really appreciate it. Hope you're well, too. Michael McCaffrey, thanks for your super chat, who says, James, hope everything is going great. Keep it up. Well, thank you, and all credit to the speakers. I mean, the speakers make this channel fun, and so we're thankful that they hang out with us here and kind of, express their passion on this channel. So Dwayne Burke, thanks for your super chat, who says, fossils aren't evidence for evolution. You can't determine if a fossil is that of an undiscovered animal or that of a transitioning animal, because no one knows all the animals that ever existed.
It's just testable predictions. So we make a prediction. Say, if evolution is true, we can predict that there will be fossils of this kind at this layer, and of a different kind at a different layer, and a different kind at a different layer, and they'll follow the same progressive stack, and there won't be any in here and here. And we get that right. That's evidence of evolution. The fossils themselves don't prove evolution. You're right. They could be planted there by magical leprechauns who just wanted to deceive us. It's possible. But the fact that we made the predictions, we would find them in the specific places we did before we actually knew, and get it right 100% of the time, that is evidence of evolution.
Gotcha. Appreciate that. Let's see. Next up. Thanks for your super chat from Michael McCaffrey, who says, you're welcome. Appreciate it. Dwayne Burke, another super chat. Thanks so much. They say, to say that nature or non-intelligence can create DNA code and assign each person a unique fingerprint, each is delusional. Coding requires intelligence.
But the fingerprint happened billions of years before coding, for any type of human coding. Like they're putting the cart before the horse.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And thanks so much for your super chat from Small Time Art. Ooh, they're coming at you, Neph. They say, Nephilim free, your smug, condescending arrogance is unnecessary.
He's not actually. That's just his voice. He's perfectly nice guy.
So, well, I would respond to that by saying, I think that the absurdity of the claims of evolutionists that rock soup is going to organize itself into the most complex thing known to man, except a multicellular organism, and the claim that undirected chemistry is able to account for the complexity and the design properties of living things is such an egregious false thing to be putting forth in the world, especially to be telling children these scientific fallacies, that it requires just being absolutely straight off the cuff about it and not playing games.
So you don't think carbon can form life?
Time for debate is over, I think.
Let's see. We can go to the next one. Thanks so much for your super chat. From Dwayne Burke, says, TJump, any test done in a lab just corroborates the creationist position that intelligent causation is required to put together the ingredients.
Right. A human hand touched it, so it can't be just natural processes, because clearly that's how science works. It's like, no, these experiments represent nothing in the universe. It's clearly just human intervention that made all of these. Like, yeah, because that's what scientists say for sure. It makes perfect sense.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for your super chat from Movie Theory, who says, they're coming at you, TJump. They say, the live chat is right, in all caps. TJump getting spanked, in all caps.
The live chat is right. Like, when has that ever happened?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Everybody in the live chat, don't leave. We love you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the
next up. We got to give Tom the
TJump's arrogance.
I hate to what is the word? I hate to interrupt you, John, just to not make sure we don't team up on with two jumping on Tom. Dwayne Burke, thanks for your super chat, who said, TJump, we got that one. Sorry. I'm sorry. Wilson, thanks for your super chat, who says, if intelligence is the mechanism of action, can NEPH provide an example of intelligence and intelligence alone creating anything?
We shouldn't be expected to be able to observe God create anything or the designer create us or anything biological. We infer design by the properties of the design. Human beings are designers. We do observe human beings design things, and they have the same properties as the designs found in biological systems.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for your super chat from Philip. Good to see you again, Philip. They say for the ID guys, according to your logic, if humans begin to grow babies in test tubes, that means babies can't be conceived naturally.
No, that is a categorically false assertion, because the process by which the baby being grown in the test tube and in vitro fertilization and such is using pre-existing processes and biological functions in order to execute that outcome. So it's not that it's still using fundamental biological systems that pre-exist. Just because it's being done outside of the woman's uterus has zero relevance to the processes that are taking place.
Small time art, thanks for your super chat as well, who says, by creationist logic, Rube Goldberg is God.
Yep.
I think that it's they're objecting, they're railing against you, Nephilim Free or John, if you want to respond.
I think the statement is absurd. Rube Goldberg was a human being and obviously an intelligent designer. To say that he must be God by the same logic, to liken that to the argument for intelligent design, I think is pretty fallacious reasoning.
Gotcha. Let's see. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your super chat. Who says, I remember years back, NEPH defending one of his running buddies when they described DNA as a 4-digit binary. Fellow science guru, true empiricism.
I was pointing out that DNA is a code that is represented by the symbols A, C, G, and T, which are the base pairs, the nucleotides that are ordered along the DNA molecule to provide encoded information, A, C, G, T.
And it's a quaternary code base that uses a triplet codons in order to form the syntax, which is executed via semantics and pragmatics for protein synthesis and all other aspects of biological function.
Yeah. Adenine, guanine, thionine, and cytosine.
I'm making shit up. That is literally a well-known fact in every aspect of genetics and biology. Apparently, you don't actually go and okay, why don't you go check out your Stanford dictionary and find out if there is a syntax in the genetic code that is derived from a quaternary code base that uses a triplet codons in order to execute the sequences. Why don't you go Google that and get back with me, because that is some extraordinarily basic information that is accepted by every facet of biology.
We do have to keep going. Just let's see. Thanks so much for your super chat from Caleb, who says, congrats on the win, MADDOX and Nephi Poo. Sorry, Neff. I'm only reading what somebody else wrote, okay? Neff, one time he told me, don't call me Nephi. We appreciate you, Neff. I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your super chat, who said, easy win for T-Jump's chair. Very nice.
As usual.
Caleb, thanks for your super chat, who said, T-Jump's chair is evolving new bacterial life forms.
That is probably true. I don't dispute that.
Next up, Apollo Jedi, thanks for your super chat, who says, T-Jump's doing quote mining and reading his script again.
Don't know how you can quote mine from like 90-something% of scientists. I don't know how that works as a quote mine.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Lord Jeffrey, thanks for your super chat, who said, humans creating does not equal God creating everything. This is the equivocation fallacy and illogical gibberish. I think that's for you, Neff or John.
Can you read the question again?
Yes. Lord Jeffrey said, humans creating does not equal God creating everything. This is the equivocation fallacy and illogical gibberish.
We haven't said that it's equal, so we haven't made that equivocation. What do you say, John?
Thanks for your super chat, Caleb, who says kittens enjoy playing too. Amy. Oh, you're still on mute. I think you muted yourself, Amy. Unless our producer.
I'm sorry. What was that?
They said kittens enjoy playing as well, Amy. I think they're referring to your gorilla video.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And cats are actually highly developed mammals. They share a lot of DNA with us. They're extremely social creatures. I think that's why, actually, one of the reasons why we domesticated cats, because they share actually a lot of qualities that we have. Like, I think curiosity is a big one that we can see in cats. So what I'm saying is, I agree with you.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for your super chat from Dwayne Burke, who says Joe Exotic is TJump's dad.
Do I get some of his money then?
Nice. Merlin72001, thanks for your super chat, who said, TJump and Amy, what is the value of wasting? Oh, NEPH, you're about to get a big backhanded insult. They say, TJump and Amy, what is the value of wasting time talking to NEPH? He just goes down the same dialogue tree he's had for over a decade and refuses to learn anything about actual science. Hashtag NEPH word salad.
James pays me in cookies. That's why I do.
And this is a lot of fun. And I think he was a gentleman in this debate, so I can't complain. Can't complain at all.
We'll give you a chance to defend yourself as well, NEPH, but I appreciate your each of you not adding to the sick burn from that super chat, TJump and Amy. But NEPH, if you want to respond, you can, as it looks like you've got a critic here.
Sounds like a compliment to me. I get lots of those.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. And we have time for maybe just a couple of really quick questions in addition from the standard questions as well. Call Me Emo, thanks for your question, who said, for the ID side, by what method or methods do we identify the descendants of an original design? E.g., can all 10,000 plus species of ferns be descended from an original archetype? Explain your answer.
Who's the question for?
So it's for you and John. And basically the question is, by what methods do we identify the descendants of an original design?
Well, I would say this. There's no anatomical difference between varieties of any kind of organism, like broccoli and cauliflower. No, there's differences in morphology, but not anatomy. Evolution requires change to anatomy to be true. We don't know of a mechanism for it or an example. So showing differences in morphology in ferns is not showing that nature is able to create anatomical designs, which is a requirement for evolution to be true.
Gotcha. Small Time Art, thanks for your super chat. Just flew in. They said, TJump, excellent job on rustling the jimmies. I don't know what that means. This doesn't sound good. What does that mean, Tom? Is that one of your phrases?
Like rustling feathers, you know?
Yeah, similar to that.
Okay, it sounded like something completely different.
Don't get your panties in a bunch, kind of a thing.
Ah, okay. They're saying that are they saying you rustled?
It's a 4chan meme, so just let it.
Yeah, it says, I'm trolling the intelligent design people by calling them stupid. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that it was from that website, Amy.
Not 100% sure if it came from there, but I've seen it on there at least.
I didn't know you hang out there. Okay, thanks for
Not that I would ever.
Wait, what website was this? Please.
Just curious. Okay, Amy's a curious person. Thanks for your. Let's see. We've got a couple more questions. We'll try to get through. Thanks for your question from. Did I see one from Brian? I don't think I did. That's all right. Let's see. Mike Keenan, thanks for your question that said, if God has no cells, why is it said we are made in his image?
Read that one more time, please.
If God has no cells, why is it said that we are made in his image?
It's a good question.
Well, I mean, I would say that that's a one worthy of a full-scale debate, but I would say just from a intrinsic perspective, it would be the cognitive function, the self-awareness and ability to create things that requires the abilities that humans are the only ones that exist that have all those capacities to create things beyond direct cause and effect in the short term, and actually be able to have foresight, foreknowledge, and understanding of information rather than just pure reaction.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And thanks so much for your question from Ethel Chip, who asks, what brand of headphones are you wearing, Amy?
Muted. Can't hear you.
Still
It is. I keep on doing that. It is a Razer headphone. It's fantastic because it matches my actual pink computer.
Nice. Terrific headphones. Everybody's saying they're the best. And with that, want to say we are excited, folks, as we will be back on Monday as Steve McRae and Snake is Right face off on a number of personal issues. So hopefully we will see you there for that one. That should be a fun one. And want to say thanks so much again, though, to our speakers, as they really, we just appreciate them so much. Hanging out with us is always fun. And so TJump, John MADDOX, Amy, and Nephilim Free, thanks so much for hanging out with us and doing this tag team debate tonight.
Thanks, James.
Absolutely.
And last plug for their links. They are linked in the description, folks. So if you're like, I want to hear more, or I want to make fun of Tom's appearance, well, you can. Those links are waiting for you in the description. So thanks so much. It's always fun, folks. We hope you have a great night. And if our producer is still... Can you hear us? If you're out there, we are ready to wrap up soon. Thank you very much.